My nephew put dog poop in the food, and when I tried to discipline him, my family mocked my miscarriage. So I let them eat it and find out what it tasted like. This happened last weekend, and honestly, I still feel sick knowing they actually ate it. But hey, they can't say I didn't warn them. They love their crap, and now, they've eaten it. Let me tell you how I went from warning them not to eat it to watching them do it, and enjoying every second of it. I had a miscarriage 3 months ago. It was early in the pregnancy, but it shattered me. I had already started imagining everything, picking names, wondering if it would be a boy or a girl. I was terrified all the time because I'd had complications before. And just when I began to feel a tiny bit of hope, it was gone. I ended up staying at my mom's place for a while. My partner works long hours, and I didn't trust myself to be alone. I just thought I needed to be surrounded by family. At least, that's what I believed. My sister lives nearby and constantly brings over her 7-year-old son. I used to love being the fun aunt, but ever since I got pregnant, and especially after the miscarriage, it's been so hard to deal with him. The last time, he pushed me when I asked him to stop jumping on the couch next to me. I was still pregnant then. I told my sister, and she just said he was playing and I needed to relax. She always says the same thing, he's just a kid, I'm too sensitive, blah blah. That's always been her thing, to be honest, brushing me off like that. Last Sunday, the whole family came over for lunch at my mom's. We do it regularly, and I usually help in the kitchen. I wasn't really in the mood this time, but I ended up helping anyway. My nephew also wanted to help, in quotes, which would have been fine, except he wouldn't stop laughing and running back and forth between the yard and the kitchen like he was up to something. I didn't think much of it until I caught him hovering near the big pot of stew, smiling to himself while stirring it. I asked him what he was doing. He said, "The food's extra spicy today," and burst out laughing. I asked what he meant, and he suddenly got weirdly quiet. Then he leaned in, whispered that he'd put dog poop in the pot, and started laughing even harder, like it was the funniest thing in the world. At first, I thought maybe he was just messing with me, but the look on his face, he looked proud. I asked him again what he meant, and he just said he brought it in from the yard, then put his finger to his lips, like it was our little secret. I froze. I stopped everything and went straight to talk to my sister. She rolled her eyes and said he was just joking, probably laughing at me. I told her I'd seen him stirring the food after being outside with the dog, and that he himself told me it was poop. She said I was overreacting again and told me to stop blaming her son for everything. I didn't even know what to say. I just walked back to the kitchen, lifted the pot, and was about to throw it out when my mom walked in and asked what I was doing. I tried to explain calmly. Then she called my aunt, my cousin, suddenly everyone was there, asking why I was making a scene. When I told them what happened, my cousin laughed like it was some dumb joke. My aunt said, "He's just a kid saying silly things." Then my sister said I was acting up again and blamed it on my hormones. And then the miscarriage joke started. My sister said something like, "She probably thinks the poop's gonna make her miscarry again." Everyone laughed. My cousin nearly fell over laughing. I just left the pot on the stove and said, "If you really don't care, go ahead and eat it." Then I walked out. I sure as hell wasn't going to eat that crap, but they could enjoy it all they wanted. It's been 4 days. No one has messaged me, not to check if I'm okay, not to ask if I was serious, not even to say sorry. Nothing. I keep asking myself if I overreacted. But I can't stop thinking about my nephew's face, that evil little grin while he did something so wrong, and how my family acted like I was insane. Maybe I was. Or maybe they really did eat fresh dog poop. But they laughed at my miscarriage. And now, I'd say I'm about 95% hopeful that it actually had dog poop in it. Because if anyone deserved it, it was them. I tried to warn them. But instead of listening, they laughed. So now, the joke's on them. I haven't spoken to anyone since that day. I've gone back to staying with my partner. Edit. For those saying my partner was grieving too and I shouldn't have left him, staying at my mom's for a few days was actually his idea. He knew that being alone at home while he worked late wasn't going to help me. Update 1. I hadn't heard from anyone in several days. And when I say heard, I mean not even a single message in the family group chat. The family WhatsApp group, usually nonstop with dumb memes and birthday reminders, has been dead silent since that day. I even checked if they'd removed me. Nope. They just hadn't posted anything new, which is weird. But there was a reason for the silence. I spoke with my mother. Even though she didn't mock me, she also wasn't able, or didn't even try, to defend me from my sister. In the end, they all ate from the pot. And eventually, they found out that it really did have dog poop in it. This is what my mother told me about what happened after I left. After I stormed out, she got into an argument with my sister, apparently because she was ruining the family event. A little late to start defending me, if she ever really did. Maybe she just told me that to make herself look better. After that, everyone sat down to eat. They served the plates, and everyone began tasting the food. Some of them noticed something tasted off. They started glancing at each other, wondering if what I had said could possibly be true. One person finally asked, "This weird taste, it's not dog poop, is it?" That's when they all turned to my nephew, the only one who hadn't taken a single bite. He was just sitting in his chair, grinning from ear to ear. Then he started laughing. Louder and louder. Until everyone began freaking out. Some ran to the bathroom, others dashed to the kitchen, and the ones who couldn't make it, or couldn't hold it in, started vomiting right there in the living room. My sister grabbed her son by the shoulders and started shaking him, demanding to know if he had actually put something in the food. He nodded while still laughing. She asked, "You better mean it was just some spice or something. A joke. Not what your aunt said." My nephew replied, "Yeah, something to make it taste better." So my sister calmed down, assuming it was just extra pepper or some kind of edible seasoning he found in the kitchen. Then he said, "It was dog poop, Mom," and burst out laughing again. That triggered another wave of vomiting across the house. As my mother told me this, she had to try hard not to gag again. Just hearing about people throwing up made me sick to my stomach, but what really got me was imagining them actually eating dog poop. At the same time, I couldn't help but laugh. The whole thing was disgusting, but also hilarious. Because the prank my nephew pulled? Yeah, it was wrong. But at least it was a joke I didn't fall for. I saw it coming and stayed out of it. And since they all laughed at me, I didn't feel sorry for them one bit. My mom told me I should have tried harder to make them believe I wasn't joking. I told her she could have tried harder to stand up for me when my sister mocked me. In the end, she chose to protect my sister, and ended up eating literal crap. She said something in response, but I didn't catch it because I was so angry. Then she hung up on me. I know some people reading this will say, "You should have thrown the food away." It was the right thing to do, even if they didn't believe you. It could have been dangerous. Full of bacteria or whatever. But I didn't force anyone to eat. They were all happy to listen to my sister make jokes. So no, I'm not sorry. They wanted me to be the joke, so I let them eat the punchline. I know I won't be invited to future family lunches. I've never been the favorite anyway. But honestly, I'd rather stay away. I don't have the same exotic taste as them. I don't know what happened to my nephew afterward. My mom didn't tell me much, other than the fact that my sister kept screaming at him while trying not to throw up again. Anyway, I'm probably going to need a few days to recover, both from the nausea and from laughing at the thought of my family eating that. I don't think I'll be able to eat stew again for a while, even if it's not made by them. But if you ask me whether it was worth it, I'll tell you, without a doubt, yes. If you treat people like shit, well, now you've eaten it. Update 2. A few nights ago, my sister came to my house. She was trying to get back at me with some dumb kid-level prank. Now I know exactly where her son gets his ideas from, although I still don't understand their obsession with animal poop. She left a paper bag on my porch, lit it on fire, hoping I'd stomp on it and step in whatever was inside. Very mature. But also, very stupid. Not only have I seen that prank 100 times, I also spotted her getting into her car just down the street. Next time, sis, run faster after ringing the bell. Otherwise, people might catch on to who's behind it. A couple days later, my aunt messaged me to invite me to another Sunday lunch. She said it would be nice if everyone calmed down and came together again. I thanked her for the invitation but said I hoped never to eat near them again. Especially not if my nephew was around to add ingredients. At this point, I don't know if they genuinely want to move on from everything that happened, or if they just want to trick me into eating something gross so we'd be even. Either way, I'm not taking that chance. I'm refusing to attend those events. There's also the fact that they treated me horribly, but above all, I won't eat anything they prepare. My aunt kept insisting. I told her to let go of any hope of seeing me at that lunch. My sister was invited too, which I think is beyond ridiculous. She's the mother of a kid who did what he did last time. I think she should be banned from future gatherings. That child has no boundaries. And neither does she, because she acts just like him. I told my aunt what my sister did. She said it couldn't be true. She insisted it was probably just some neighborhood kid playing a prank and that they wouldn't stop inviting my sister just because I didn't like her. I told her, fine. Keep eating shit if you love it so much, my sister included. And I meant it. Both literally and figuratively. I didn't go. But that doesn't mean I don't know what happened at the lunch. Because yes, there are things to talk about. That lunch wasn't free from problems. Everyone, and when I say everyone, I mean literally everyone, was in the kitchen while the food was being prepared. Once again, it would have been so much easier just to ask my sister not to bring the kid, raise him properly, or, simply not invite her at all. But that's my family. Or at least, what I used to consider family. They all wanted to make sure my nephew didn't mess with the food again. He was strictly forbidden from entering the kitchen, and they wanted to make absolutely sure of it. So, the boy stayed in the living room, supposedly watching TV. Now you'll understand why they all followed the food from the kitchen to the table like they were guarding the president's motorcade. Everyone sat down to eat. But when my aunt went to sit in her chair, one of the legs collapsed and she ended up rolling onto the floor. Turns out, my nephew had somehow gotten hold of a saw and weakened the leg just enough so that when my aunt sat, the weight would break it and bring her down. While everyone was helping her up, my nephew tried to dump an entire salt shaker into the food. He was caught in the act. Someone slapped his hand hard enough to make him drop the shaker. Good. Finally, someone with a little common sense. But of course, that just led to another family argument. Some people said the person did the right thing by disciplining him, while others rushed to defend my nephew, or at least opposed using physical punishment. In the end, no one took a single bite. Lunch was over before it began, and everyone went home. It wasn't much better than the last time, but at least this time, the house didn't end up looking like a battlefield covered in people's insides. I hope this is finally the moment when they learn, stop inviting a juvenile delinquent, and his enabling mother. Update 3. The family group chat came back to life once they removed my sister from the group. They started discussing what to do with her and with my nephew, since things were clearly getting out of control with all the pranks. It looks like they've finally realized, quote-unquote, that maybe it's time to stop inviting my sister to these events, because now everyone's health is at stake. I don't know whether it was the food incident or the physical injuries that finally opened their eyes, but either way, they're taking action now. Again, quote-unquote. My aunt, for example, wants to report my nephew to the authorities, or at least call Child Protective Services so he can be removed from my sister's custody and placed with someone who might actually raise him properly. But then another relative said that if CPS got involved, he might be placed with another family member. That's when everyone protested, because none of them want him in their house. They also argued about whether the physical discipline he received at the last lunch was too much. Some said it was excessive. Others claimed it wasn't nearly enough. In that second group were the people who insisted that a good slap at the right time would have saved them a lot of trouble. Then you had those who said the right thing to do would be to sit the boy down and explain why what he did was wrong, calmly and rationally. Some even said that the one who really deserved the punishment was my sister, because she's the one who shaped her child into who he is. Of course, no one could agree on anything. It all ended in insults and angry voice notes, people yelling over each other, calling each other every name in the book. Eventually, someone said I should take responsibility for my sister. After all, she's your sister, they said. And the snack incident at the first lunch was my fault. I replied with a few emojis, the poop emoji and a sandwich. They kicked me out of the group chat within minutes. And I haven't heard from them since. I do know my sister called my mother. My mom told me about it. Apparently, my sister is now offended by how her son was treated during the last lunch. My mom told her she wouldn't be welcome again, not until she got help for her son. At least this whole mess gave me an idea. I'm going to call Child Protective Services myself. It's not normal for a child my nephew's age to do these things, and to find them funny. He's a monster. But a monster created entirely by my sister. With a little help from the rest of the family, for turning a blind eye. If nobody disciplines this boy now, it won't take long before he turns into something far worse. I know it sounds harsh, taking a child away from his mother. But at this point, I honestly think it might be the only way to stop him. But this can't go on. Someone has to do something. They can't keep eating literal crap and arguing in a group chat like it's normal. I made the call. I filed a report and told them everything. I submitted all the evidence I had, so the case would be taken seriously. Now it's in their hands. They can choose to act responsibly, or do what my family always does, leave everything up in the air. Still, I didn't want the guilt of knowing a child ended up with a ruined life just because a bunch of adults couldn't handle something as simple as this. Update 4. My sister came to visit. Without my nephew. And weirdly, she was calm. She doesn't know I'm the one who filed the report against her. She was just looking for an ally in the middle of this mess. She told me she knew someone in the family had reported her, that she was under investigation. But she didn't know it was me. And I plan to keep it that way for as long as I can. She started guessing who it might be, and I just played along. Tell me more. Wow, I can't believe someone would actually do that. The report triggered a full investigation. Not only are child services going to show up at her house without much warning, so she can't make any last-minute changes, but they're also interviewing everyone in the family to get a clearer picture of what's been going on with that boy. She made me promise not to say anything about the poop lunch incident, because I'm the only family she has left. She says everyone else kicked her out of the group and turned against her. She told me she loved me. She even apologized for the things she said. It was all manipulation. Lies and guilt-tripping. I just nodded and told her she could trust me. Meanwhile, I've already given them everything, every shred of proof that she's an unfit mother. And if they ask me again, I'll tell them even more. At the same time, the family group chat is buzzing. Everyone knows about the report. It's a hot topic, and now they're all pointing fingers, accusing each other, even though they agreed no one would make that call. I wouldn't know any of this, if I didn't have a mole in the group. Someone on the inside's been feeding me updates. And so far, no one's suspecting me. Or at least, they haven't said so out loud. As usual, the blame just bounces around. There are two main camps. The physical discipline camp and the gentle discipline camp. Each group accuses the other. The physical discipline crowd says a good smack early on would have prevented all this. The gentle discipline crowd says at least they didn't raise a child who puts dog poop in stew. Me? I'm stuck on the sidelines, collecting screenshots and juicy quotes from my informant, who doesn't even know I'm the one who called child services. The funniest part? Sometimes the arguments get so ridiculous, they're comparing how much each person ate the day of the special seasoning. Some are proud they vomited less than the others. God, I wish I could read all of it myself, but honestly, it works better this way. I'm not in the group. Which means I'm not the center of the chaos. Eventually, someone will figure it out. I'm sure of it. But I don't care. What's the worst that could happen? They don't invite me to eat crap on Christmas? Or the Thanksgiving turkey comes stuffed with something extra special? I can live with that. If people can live with the idea that they ate dog poop, I can live with being the outcast. Imagine lying down at night, trying to sleep, and the texture of that comes back to your mind. I escaped that. And I escaped being part of that shitty family. It's like surviving 2 lightning strikes in a row. Update 5. Child Protective Services hasn't taken her son away, much to the relief of the rest of the family. But they are keeping a close watch on my sister. She's been ordered to attend parenting classes and food handling courses. No, I'm not joking. I couldn't believe it when I heard. I told the person who gave me the update to stop messing around and just tell me what really happened, but nope, it's real. Social services truly believe that my sister needs to learn that dog poop doesn't belong in food. Maybe this is their version of community service. Or a symbolic punishment. I don't know. But hey, it's a start. Of course, my sister came running to complain. She said it's all so unfair. And she confirmed the punishment was real, not a joke. She thinks it's too much for a single mom doing her best to raise a child on her own. Still no suspicion on her part. And that's how I'd like to keep it. If worst comes to worst, and she ever confronts me, I've already decided what I'll say. Eat shit. And that'll be the end of it. As for the family chat, things are surprisingly quiet now. Everyone's just relieved they weren't the ones chosen to take the boy in. But now there's a new drama brewing. My aunt wants to sue, or at least demand that my sister pay for her physical therapy. Ever since the fall, her neck's been in pain. So here we go again. New factions are forming. Some think my aunt should go for it, that at least she'll get free massages out of it. Others say we should leave my sister alone because she's going through enough already. For now, no one's planning a new family gathering. They might be thinking of one, but without inviting my sister. Still, no one wants to be the first to say it. Too much trauma, probably. I used to think I was the only one traumatized from losing my pregnancy. But now, the whole family's traumatized. By one lunch gone terribly wrong. Update 6. My sister and I are now best friends. Or at least, she thinks so. Because she tells me everything, and when I say everything, I mean everything. Hi, I'm starting to think maybe I should tell her I was the one who called social services. But if I do, I'll lose all the juicy gossip. She's been talking to me more and more, opening up like I'm her confidant. She even told me her son's pranks haven't stopped. One day, he found a frog in the backyard and slipped it into her bed while she was asleep. At first, she thought it was just a cold patch in the sheets. But when it moved, she screamed so loud and jumped so high she swears she nearly stuck to the ceiling. A neighbor actually called the police. They thought she was being murdered. She had to explain everything to the officers. And then, hilariously, asked them to remove the frog from her house. 2 male officers agreed to help. She stayed downstairs while they took care of it. But once they left and she walked into the bedroom, she realized she'd left dirty underwear lying around. She was mortified. Didn't even think about that part until it was too late. Then another day, her son poured green dye into her shampoo. She couldn't get the color out for 2 days. She had to take her son to school and go to work with green-tinted hair and face. She still doesn't know if the dye was toxic. But I told her, you've already ingested worse things, so maybe don't worry about it. The last one? My favorite. Not so much hers. Her son created a distraction in the front yard by setting some papers on fire in a trash bin late at night, around 11. That forced her to run outside, half-dressed. Once she was out, he locked the door behind her. She had to walk through the neighborhood like that and knock on a neighbor's door to call a locksmith, because of course, she didn't have her phone. The locksmith showed up around 1 a.m. I don't understand how she can't find it even a little funny that someone just as mischievous as she used to be is now playing tricks on her. Still, she says disciplining him would be cruel. She claims her son has already lost his father and that any further punishment would be torture. Her words, not mine. Sure, I could tell her it was me who reported her, and stop hearing her ridiculous stories. But where's the fun in that? Honestly, her stories are the best entertainment I've had in months. As for the family chat, they've already had their first meeting without my sister. I was invited, but I declined. My sister was offended they had a gathering without her and her son. I comforted her by saying she should understand. She'd kind of ruined the last few lunches. Maybe they just need time before they accept her again. Update 7. My sister's stories have stopped recently. Sorry, I don't have much to share on that front. At least she's no longer using me as her confessional. Though truthfully, I didn't really mind it. She still doesn't know I made the report. And I've decided she never will. Eventually, social services took custody of her son and placed him in temporary foster care. They never interviewed me directly. Even though I updated my complaint with all the new things she'd told me. They just said the case was under investigation. That's it. My aunt never formally filed a lawsuit. But she did force my sister to pay for her physical therapy. I think that's why my sister hasn't been talking to me much lately. She wanted me to help pay for it, and I told her no. That's where I drew the line. I'm not going to bankroll her nonsense just to keep hearing her stories. Update 8. My sister still isn't talking to me. And honestly, I'm fine with that. Apparently, she was deeply offended that I didn't help her pay the therapy bill, which totaled nearly $5,000. I can't even imagine what she'd do if she ever found out I was the one who reported her to child services. But, they gave her son back. And this time, she's setting boundaries and enforcing discipline. Looks like she actually learned something from those parenting classes they made her attend. Well, not much, but just enough. Because now she has no choice. She's been warned that if anything like what happened before happens again, she'll be fined. First offense, $1,000. Second, $2,500. Third, $6,000. The good news? It won't increase beyond that. But after the first two fines, the video games and the TV? Gone. Apparently, people who've seen my nephew lately say he's no longer the funny prankster of the family. Because now, finally, my sister disciplines him. Turns out all it took was hitting her where it hurt, her wallet. Same with the rest of the family. Hit them with enough embarrassment or financial pressure, and suddenly, they stop inviting her. I still have my mole in the family chat. But things have returned to normal. Dumb memes, birthday reminders, and the usual nonsense. And for anyone wondering if my mole is my mom. No. It's not. My relationship with her has been practically non-existent since all this went down. Same with most of the other relatives.